Welcome back to Launch With Me. This is the free series where I am documenting the entire launch from start to finish of something brand new in my multiple six-figure business, all so that you can see behind the scenes of what a launch looks like for me and to be able to use my launch plan as yours if you want to. And if you do want to do that, make sure you head to the link in the description below this video. Signing up for free for this series gets you access to a free Google Doc, which breaks down my entire launch strategy, so that you can use that as a roadmap for yours. And of course, if you want to get extra bonus content that goes much deeper into these concepts that I'm talking about in these videos, then definitely make sure you check out the VIP option. The link is also there in the description for you so that you can upgrade into the VIP experience and get exclusive bonus content and resources from me so that you can really take your launching to the next level. Today, we are going to be talking all about setting launch goals in your launch, which this is often something that people do at the beginning of their launch. I like to do it once we're right about at the point where we're going to start launching the offer. So I am really excited to dive into this with you today. Now, before we dive into setting launch goals, I want to give you just another quick update on my launch. I'm making this video just a couple hours after the last video that I shared with you, so there isn't too much new going on behind the scenes here. I think we did have another person or two enroll in the membership during that time, so that's very exciting. But really the main update I want to share with you here is something that happened just 2 days ago when my launch for the Wealth Vibe started, once we had first opened the cart. And this is more of a internal or behind the scenes kind of update for you. So what happened was we opened up the cart for the Wealth Vibe membership. We opened up doors and immediately a handful of people enrolled. That was very, very exciting. That's always a nice feeling when as soon as you open up the doors, people are just waiting to purchase. That feels really nice. But then we had a lull in the sales, and this happens with almost every launch, right? And whether it happens immediately after you've opened doors or whether it happens a couple days into the launch, most of the time you see sales slow down or stop for a little bit during your launch. And this isn't something people really talk about all that much in the entrepreneurial space. So I wanted to shed a little bit of light on that here, because what happens when we have an immediate rush and then we don't have anyone buying and there's some space between purchases is our ego likes to jump in sometimes and make stories like, oh my God, that's it. I'm not going to sign any more people into this offer. No one else is going to buy. And this was a complete failure. And it's something that even while it's happening, you kind of know it's ridiculous. You know that you're overthinking and stressing because you just opened the doors and most people haven't even seen the email announcing it yet. And you know more people are probably going to buy before the cart closes because that's how most people purchase. So that's something that is important to be mindful of, is that not all launches are constantly selling all the time. And this is something that I shared with the people inside of the VIP Launch With Me experience on the first day of my launch, because my ego did start to do that. After the first couple hours of being open and seeing some enrollments come through, we had probably, I think like honestly, another like 6 or 7 or 12 hours or something where no more sales came through. My ego was trying to really self-sabotage and trying to freak me out and trying to tell the stories of no one else is buying, no, people aren't gonna want this, I put so much energy into this membership and no one sees the value in it and blah, blah. I have done this enough, I have launched enough in my business over the last 5 years that as soon as that started, I knew it was BS. Like I knew that was just my ego trying to get me to just kind of give up on the launch immediately, because it was something new, it's something different, it's something a little scary, right? A little out of your comfort zone. That was something that I was immediately mindful of. And so I'd say that fit my ego through lasted about 20 minutes total. And that's because I stopped it, because I noticed what was going on. I noticed I was telling stories. So what I did was I stepped away from my computer. I stopped checking my phone to see if anyone had purchased. And I took my dogs on a walk. I meditated. I even went into the Wealth Vibe membership, because it's really for instances like this to help me reconnect with that next level version of me who's like, oh no, of course this launch has been a success. Of course I've done fantastically with it. And I feel like I showed up as the best version of me throughout it. So I did all these things. I reached into my toolbox and did these things that helped me shift that. But I wanted to share that with you because it's something, again, that we don't really hear talked about in the entrepreneurial spaces. You can have a wildly successful launch, but still have days or even weeks, depending how long your launch period is, where nothing's selling. I had a live launch at the beginning of this year that ended up being like a 30 to 40K launch. And that was a really successful launch. But because the cart was open for a month, because it was a huge program and it had a higher price point, so I had the cart open for almost a month of enrollment. And we had a couple people purchase right away, and then nothing for almost 2 weeks until early bird closed. And then once the early bird price on that launch was about to expire, we had more people sign up. And then it was again like another week or so before more people started purchasing before the cart finally closed. I think in that launch, there were only maybe like 7 days that we signed people into that program, but it ended up being like a 40K launch. So it was a very successful launch, but there were only about 7 days out of the whole month where people were enrolling. And that's normal. That's okay. That happens, right? So it's so important, and this is something I just wanted to say before we dive into setting launch goals, is that you have to be willing to endure throughout the launch. You have to be willing to keep going and treat it like a marathon, not a sprint. Because yes, as much as we would love to see 500 people purchasing your offer within an hour of the cart opening, that doesn't always happen. It can, but it doesn't always happen. And even people who've had that happen once before, it doesn't always happen the next time they launch. So it's just something really important to keep in mind, is that people can purchase at any time during your launch. You never know how many people are looking at your offer and thinking about it, or waiting for their paycheck to hit in a couple days so then they can purchase it. Like, you don't know what the situation is. And so often we make it about us and we make it mean what's possible for our future, but you have to catch that quickly and then shift back into being in that fully embodied, empowered place and continue on your launch from that place. So just something I want to share with you there. It's worth noting that this still happens to people like me. Like, my business does multiple 5-figure launches pretty regularly for bigger offers, and I still have these thoughts. And I still have that ego trying to sabotage me. And for me, I just give myself credit for how far I've come, because that ego voice, like I said, this time around, 20-minute fit first day of the launch. The fact that I was able to catch it that fast and shift it that fast is huge for me, because years ago in the past, I would get that ego acting up and I would stay in that space for like 2 weeks or most of the launch or an entire launch. And that would really impact my ability to show up for it, my ability to write any extra content or make any tweaks or pivots partway through the launch. It really would drag down my launch and result in less sales overall. So it's really important to be mindful of the inner stories you're telling yourself and not looking at a lull or a lack of sales in your business or in your launch and make that mean something about how the rest of the launch is going to go, because you never know. At any time, anything could shift. You could have a post that goes viral. You could have written this amazing email that the other emails didn't really convert, and then all of a sudden you send out this one email and 20 people purchase. Like, you don't know. So you just have to be really grounded in that empowered next level version of you as you're going through your launch, and not let the ego freak out and win. So I just wanted to share that with you. I wanted to be vulnerable and honest, just so you can see that this happens at every level of entrepreneurship, and it's okay. And you're not alone when it happens to you. And it's just about practicing ignoring the ego and not letting it take control of your launch and sabotage you. And of course, this is why I created the Wealth Vibe membership, because this is the sort of thing that easily pulls you out of alignment with that embodiment of your next level of wealth and sabotages your launch or whatever it is you're doing to make money. So this is why I see this need for it. Of course, if you struggle with this, you're welcome to come join us inside of the Wealth Vibe membership. But I just want you to know, entrepreneur to entrepreneur, this is normal. It is normal for those stories to pop up. You just get better and better at cutting them off and not letting them take control. All right, now that we have gotten that update out of the way, let's talk about goal setting in our launches. Now, a lot of people see goal setting as a kind of way to measure the success of your launch and a goal to strive for and to try to hit. And most people look at this in terms of money or number of clients enrolled, something that's very tangible or observable. And I do love setting tangible goals in my launches. They're kind of fun, and it's fun to daydream about how many people could I enroll and what would it feel like or look like if I had a launch on this scale, or if I brought in this amount of money with this launch. You can absolutely do that. I do that to a degree. I think that sometimes serves you very well to embody the version of you who's maybe signed 50 people into your program, if that's how many you want to hit, or 10 people into your program, or whatever it is. So I don't think there's anything wrong with setting tangible goals. However, most people get very caught up in them and make it mean something about them when they don't hit those tangible, quantifiable goals. So I like to approach goal setting in my launches by setting both tangible and intangible goals for myself for each phase of the launch. And I think the important thing here is to note that I like to make the intangible goals that I set matter more than the tangible goals. For me, the intangible goals, and I'll give you examples of what these look like in a moment, but the intangible goals are how we ultimately measure the success of our launch. The tangible goals are how we measure where we can best grow or improve. So for the first phase of my launch, the goal that I had for myself was really just an intangible one, because when you're doing the warm-up phase, it's really hard to set a tangible goal. At least for me, you could try to be like, I want to get X amount of likes on my posts, or I want to get X amount of people opening my emails, or grow my audience by X amount of people or something like that. But really, I like to just look at the warm-up phase as it's very low pressure, and really it's all about just how embodied can I be throughout this first phase of my launch? How much can I just be in the energy of the version of me who's at the end of the launch, who's celebrating a really amazingly done launch, who loves the way they felt throughout it? How can I be more of that version now? And so for me, my goal during phase 1 of this launch, which was just an intangible inner goal, was just to have fun with writing the content. For me, the content was really, really fun to create for the first phase of the launch. Because again, there's no pressure. We're not trying to sell. We're not trying to weave any certain stories. It was just bringing awareness to the main topic I was going to be talking about throughout the rest of my launch. So I feel like I did knock that one out of the park, and that felt really, really good. Now for phase 2 of my launch, this is where I started setting more tangible and intangible results. So for me, the intangible results are pretty much always just how much can you embody your next level self. But I had a couple little specifics for phase 2 and 3. So for phase 2, for my freebie, right, for launching financial frequency, which is that free event that led into then opening the cart for the Wealth Vibe. My intangible results were for me to allow things to be simple. I know myself, and I know I have a tendency to try to overcomplicate and over deliver to a ridiculous degree, especially my free content, because there's that part of me that I sometimes slip into some old programming around, which is if I over deliver, if I give so much insane value for free, of course people are gonna buy the offer. Why wouldn't they? They're gonna be like, this is amazing, she's amazing, I wanna work with her. And what I have found over the years is that when I let myself slide into that scarcity and into that doubt and into that place of needing to prove my worth to other people and the value of my work, instead of owning it and just sharing that value myself, when I get into that space, less people purchase the actual paid offer because they're overwhelmed with the amount of content I gave them in the free offer. So that was really my less tangible goal for financial frequency for phase 2 of my launch, was to keep things simple. And I feel like I did that pretty well. There was a point where my ego tried to come in and be like, this isn't enough. People aren't gonna see any value in these 3 videos you're creating for the Wealth Attunement series. No one's gonna like it. No one's gonna wanna purchase the Wealth Vibe from it. But I didn't really give any credence to those thoughts, because I just know myself. I know from doing this enough over the last several years that if I let myself overcomplicate and add way too much, it's just gonna work against me. So I kept things simple. It was still a good amount of work. I still am very, very proud of the final product of Financial Frequency, but I definitely kept it simple. I didn't overcomplicate it. And then in terms of a tangible goal that I set for phase 2 was getting between 200 to 500 people enrolled in Financial Frequency. Like I said, when we started Financial Frequency on day 1, where the first video was released, we had 281 people enrolled. So I definitely hit that tangible goal. I set that range. I love setting ranges for myself to really aim for, because I think it keeps it more open and it doesn't just be like, I just have to get to 200 and then I stop. There's more available and you never know what's gonna happen with a launch. But because this is a newer audience, or a newer niche, I should say, for me and for what I'm doing, and I'm moving away from the human design world and more just into wealth embodiment, I was very pleased with this number. If this had been a human design offer, I would have expected to hit about 400 to 700 people enrolled in the offer. So I definitely hit that, but it was on the lower end of my range. So that just tells me that in the future for free events, I might need more of a longer warm-up period for this niche, or I might need maybe to be working on some audience building before I launch something else in this niche if I want to. Just some things for me to keep in mind, but I definitely did hit the goal, so I'm very happy with that. Now I'm going to give you my goals for the Wealth Vibe membership for phase 3 of my launch, for the actual paid offer of what my intangible and tangible goals are for this phase of my launch that I'm currently in. Because again, we're in day 2. I think it's been 2 days since we opened up the doors to the Wealth Vibe membership. So we still have 5 more days of promo left. So for the intangible goals for this last phase of my launch and for the Wealth Vibe for me is to be grounded in my value and the value of the Wealth Vibe membership. So be really grounded of how valuable I am in what I do and in the Wealth Vibe membership, but just who I am as a person, because that's a very separate thing that people don't understand is separate. A lot of times as entrepreneurs, especially if you're a soul-led entrepreneur, someone who's really creating from their soul and sharing that kind of extension of themselves through their offers with other people, if we do not see the sorts of tangible results we want, we start to make that mean something about ourselves and be like, I'm not good at this, people don't like me, they don't want to work with me, I'm not special, I'm not smart enough, talented enough, educated enough, whatever it is. And so for me, I want to really make sure throughout the launch and the enrollment period of the Wealth Vibe membership that I am very grounded in my value as a person outside of this launch, and also very grounded in the value of the Wealth by membership, because it's very easy when you don't see enrollments coming through, or when you're just starting to finally open the doors and be like, hey, do people want to join me? That's the time, again, like I said at the beginning of this video, where your ego can sneak in and it can start to tell you those stories of nobody's gonna want this, or you're crazy for launching this, or this is such a weird esoteric idea. Why would you put this out there? Nobody's gonna get it. It's very easy to slip down that rabbit hole. So for me, this is how I really want to lead myself through this launch, is being very grounded in the knowledge of my own value as an individual, as a human, and then my value of what I'm offering inside of the Wealth by membership, and be so rock solid in those. And so far I've been pretty good, aside from that 20-minute fit that my ego threw at the beginning of the launch. So I'm not perfect, but that's okay. We're not striving for perfection here. We're striving for like 80 to 90% completion of these intangible goals, right? And we get to keep growing on these and working on these in future launches as well. So really that intangible goal, again, this is a different way that I'm embodying that next level version of me, the version of me a week from now who's wrapped up this launch and loved how it went and is so proud of themselves and the way they navigated through it. That's what I'm really embodying. The way I'm doing it is through that grounding of my value and the value of my offer. And then the tangible goals for the launch of the Wealth by membership for this phase 3 is to have 20 to 50 people enrolled in the membership. Again, because this is a newer niche, and looking at the numbers that we had from the freebie, I feel like 20 to 50 would be great. Right now, at this moment of recording this, on day 2 of our launch being open, I believe that we are at 16 people enrolled. So I think we're gonna hit that 20-person mark, that minimum goal I have for myself with the tangible goal. But of course, if we got closer to 50, I'd be thrilled, but I'm gonna be thrilled no matter what, because I feel like with 20 people plus myself, we can start to build a really powerful foundation for this community. I could push for more, but the thing to understand with especially these tangible results is you don't have any control over them. And that's why I say we need to make the intangible results matter more, because you really don't have control over whether people purchase or not. And I know that sounds terrible to say. As an entrepreneur, you want me to be able to say, yeah, here, if you do X, Y, and Z, then you can guarantee to have X amount of people sign up for your offer or make X amount of money in your launch. But that's not how things work. There's so many factors. I'm sure you've gathered this by now by watching all these videos in this series this far. There are so many factors that play into a successful launch, and some of them are out of your control. Like, you cannot make someone purchase your offer. You can stack the deck in your favor. You can write the most amazing value-packed promo content. You can have the most perfectly crafted free offer that leads into your main paid offer. You can have done the best job of warming up your audience and really growing your audience that amount of time. You can have done everything right and really stack the deck in your favor and still not see the numbers you want. So this is why it is so important to really make sure that you are setting some intangible goals alongside your tangible goals, and making those intangible goals matter more, because those are the things you have more control over. You do not have control over the tangible goals, as much as I hate to break it to you. So again, you can stack the deck in your favor to reach those tangible goals, but you cannot obsess over them or make them mean anything about you or what's possible for you in the future. Now, let's say that you are getting partway through your launch and you are realizing that you are not hitting your intangible goals. That is, again, when I'm like, just go back and double down on your own inner work and your embodiment practices. And again, prioritize that instead of worrying about the tangible results, because if you can really be rock solid on your intangible results, you are going to feel so much more confident and so much more centered as you show up to then address any gaps with the tangible results. Now, if you are partway through your launch and it's not looking at all like you're on track to hit your tangible goals, then you can take one of two approaches. You can start looking at how you can tweak things to immediately try to shore up those results. This is the first option, right? So you can look at, really what you would do in this situation is look for the bottleneck of your launch. Are you not getting enough visibility? Are not enough people opening your emails? Are you not getting your message seen by enough people? Are not enough people seeing your message on Instagram or on YouTube or wherever you're posting? If so, look at how can you get more exposure? How can you maybe even switch platforms mid-launch or expand somewhere else to get in front of more of your ideal client, right? Do you want to all of a sudden start running paid ads? There's a lot of things you can do to get more visibility. If you are seeing that a lot of people are seeing your offer, but are not converting into paying clients, they're not purchasing, then there I would say, look and ask yourself, am I really talking about the tangible results enough? Am I walking people through those stages of buyer awareness that we talked about in our last video about marketing content? Am I educating people on this issue enough? Is it maybe an issue with my pricing? I rarely think that pricing is actually the issue. I kind of believe you can sell anything at any price as long as you position it correctly and speak to the right people about it in the right way. This is just to give you that idea of, look at where the bottleneck is. Are you getting enough eyes on your stuff? And if you are you getting the right eyes on your stuff? And if you are, then are you getting the conversions? And whichever one of those are the weak points in your launch, go fix that if you want mid-launch. Now that's the first approach. right? If you are partway through launch and you're like, I'm nowhere near my goal, I want to try to do something to fix this, and it feels intuitively correct to you, then go for that. The other option is if you're partway through your launch and you're not seeing yourself hitting those tangible results or being anywhere close to them. You can just let that go and let those tangible results go and decide that you will see how this launch ends, and then next launch, you will take what you've learned from this launch and do better and try to get a different result by tweaking things and changing your approach to different things. Those are kind of the two options for most of my launches. If I do not feel like it is on track or where I want it to be, I will typically then just surrender my attachment to it, and finish it out and see how it goes. Finish it out as the most embodied kick-ass version of me, holding that vision and that energy, and just see what happens. Because again, there's a couple reasons I say this. The first reason is because you never know when people are gonna purchase. I've had launches where it felt like I was gonna not get anywhere close to my goal, and then the last few days of the launch, all these sales come pouring in because a lot of people like to buy at the last minute because they're not sure if they want it and they're waiting to see if they actually want it or not. So you never know what could happen at any point in your launch. You never know how many people are watching and just waiting to purchase or right on the fence and they just need that one more email from you. So you really don't know what's working in your launch and what isn't until after the launch is done. You can't really definitively know what worked and what didn't until after the launch, and you can go and examine things and analyze. So that's one of the reasons I like to wait until my next launch to try to make improvements and not try to always pivot mid-launch. Not always. Occasionally I will if I intuitively just know something's off. But for the most part, I just kind of see my launch strategy through and then decide if this doesn't go how I want, I will do things better next time with what I learned this time. Now, the other reason why you might want to wait until your launch is over to try to make adjustments or to try to learn from it or change anything and just really decide to just change things next time is because sometimes things are really working out for us in ways we can't predict or imagine or even see while we're going through them. You think you want a launch to happen so badly and to get the goals that you set and those tangible goals, and then you sometimes fall short of it and you think, oh my gosh, I messed up or I failed or this wasn't meant to be for me, and you get really down on yourself. But if you can reframe that as this is all working out for me and I don't necessarily know how yet, but I'm just gonna believe and trust that this is working out for me, that the universe is making these things happen for me for my benefit, and that something amazing is gonna come from this, you open yourself up to possibility. When I have allowed myself to do that in the past with launches that have not gone as well as I had hoped, I have had massive up levels in my business, in my finances, in my own inner world as a result. So it's just something to keep in mind, and it's just something I want to give you here. Now, I do want to touch briefly about this idea of surrendering around your launch, and I think this ties in with launch goals because we can set these launch goals. We can say, I want 50 people in this program, or I want to make $10,000 from this launch, and we can say these things, but we have to have a healthy level of detachment around them. It doesn't mean we don't care and we don't show up for the launch. It means we're not tying our worth into whether we hit these goals or not, these arbitrary goals that we've set for ourselves. And it also means we're not fixating on a certain number or trying to control things we can't control. So it's really important to have some level of detachment and to really just foster a sense of trust in yourself and trust that you've got this, you're gonna do your best and show up for this launch the best you can. And also that no matter what happens, you're gonna be okay. No matter what happens with this launch, you're gonna be okay. A lot of people launch and they're like, I need X amount of money to come in or else I can't pay my bills or whatever. And it's like, of course, we want to see those things happen for you, but you also have to be okay with them not happening. Say, look, if it doesn't happen, I will figure something else out for whatever needs to be addressed in my life. I will survive this. I will not let this break me. I'm not going to put all my eggs in one basket with this and stress about it and just choke the life out of my launch because I'm so worried about whether or not I'm gonna hit my goals. Like, there has to be that level of detachment from it, or else you burn out. You do not deliver the best launch you could, you don't get the kind of results you want, and it's like a self-fulfilling prophecy. So it is so important to have a sense of healthy detachment from the goals in your launch. And like I said, to really prioritize the intangible results, the inner results and goals first. Like, that has to be the priority. And that helps you have more of that level of detachment. I feel like I have a really, really good level of detachment with the results around the Wealth Vibe membership launch. Again, I've been doing this work for years now, so I kind of know that the more I stress about it, the less results I'm gonna get that I wanna see. All right, lastly, before we wrap up this video, is I want to make the note here that you can't really fail. And I think this is a mindset that has helped me so much in my launches. When I start to find myself sliding down that old conditioning and that scarcity mindset of what if nobody buys, or what if not enough people buy, or what if I only make X amount of money with this and I don't hit my goals and blah, blah, blah. I remind myself that I can't fail. As long as I continue showing up for the launch and I see it through, and I see it through as the most embodied, empowered version of me, I cannot fail. There is no such thing as failure. Yeah, sure, maybe I do not hit my tangible goals. That happens sometimes to the best of us. But I like to remind myself that no matter what, first of all, like I said earlier, I will be okay no matter what. But second of all, there's no such thing as failure because I'm gonna learn. If I don't have a wild success of a launch, I'm gonna learn what I could do better next time and learn what I could do better next time. This is how you keep growing. You are always learning and growing as an entrepreneur. And if you think that you're gonna get to a point where you're not learning anymore and you're not improving and you're not iterating, then this is gonna be a rude awakening for you as you continue your entrepreneurial journey. If you want to keep growing in your business, you wanna keep having more and more success, you wanna be able to sustain and hold that success, you have to be willing to learn. And that means you cannot look at anything as a failure. You look at it as a learning opportunity. So that's the headspace I've been in for this launch. That's the headspace I'm in for most of my launches nowadays. I'm feeling really, really good about the fact that we already have people coming into the Wealth Vibe membership. I'm really excited to see how things wrap up, but I'm also just really excited to see how I can guide myself through this launch and really pay attention to those intangible inner goals I have for myself, because that's where so much of my growth and success is really gonna come from. So I hope this video was helpful for you. If you enjoyed it, please be sure to hit the thumbs up button below, and also be sure to subscribe to my channel so you don't miss any more videos in this series or any other amazing pieces of content I have coming for you here on my YouTube channel in the future. In the next video, I will update you with how my launch went. I think that'll probably be the last video in the Launch With Me series. I might get inspired to create one or two more, but I'm thinking that will probably be the last video in the series where I give you an update on how everything went, on what the final numbers were for enrollment for the Wealth Vibe membership for this first enrollment period, and any other thoughts I have for you to bring this program to a close. I'm really excited to share that with you. That'll probably be in about a week or two from now. So definitely keep an eye on your inbox, and again, make sure you are subscribed to my channel so you don't miss it. Now, if you enjoyed today's video, please comment below and let me know what you took away from it. Let me know any ahas or breakthroughs you had. And if you were launching alongside me, let me know what your intangible and tangible goals are for your launch. I would love to hear them and to cheer you on. All right, I will talk to you very soon.